In the last episode we created some routes, we created some components, and we made our application work like this. So whenever we click on a movie, we get to that movie, the route changes, we can use the back button to go back, and so on. So the next logical step for this, at least for me, would be to create some kind of movie creation component. So that when we click, let's say, add new movie, that we can add a new movie to our Drupal through here. And that is exactly what we are going to be doing in this episode. So as you can imagine, creating a movie isn't as simple as getting the movie. But as you will see, it's not that difficult either, if you know what you're doing. So first of all, let's go to our index.html file. And we are going to create a new template. And I'm going to call that template create movie. Okay. And then I'm just going to add h2 tag in it and say create movie. So just that we have something that we can show in our browser when we hit that create movie route. Next thing we are going to do, we are going to create a new component, and we already set the template for that component, so we are going to do this. So var create movie, we are going to call it create movie, equals Vue extend. So we already did this a couple of times. We have to define a template, and that is of course going to be create movie. Okay. Next thing we're going to be doing right here, I'm going to just set some data. And return it, and for now let it just be empty. And now we have to create our method. So methods, and we are going to call our method create the movie. Okay, and then we do just function, and that should be it for now. So I just bootstrapped our component, and now we're going to add some stuff to it, and I'm going to show you step by step how you can create a movie for your Drupal installation from this UI. But before we start doing all of that, let's just quickly make a route for our create method. So I'm just going to go down here and do create, and we're going to be calling a component called create movie. Okay, so now when we go to the URL of create, we should hit this component that we defined up here. And if I go to our browser right now and click create, we should get nothing. Let's see what the console says. So if we go right here, okay, refresh this. Now we are on a create component, and we get this create movie because we added it in our index.html file right here. Okay, so what's the next step? So the next step, just to show you a step-by-step process of how this is going, we can do something like set a ready function right here, ready, and then we do function, and whenever someone hits this route, we will automatically create the movie, just for now. So just that I can show you what's going on. So I'm just going to do this, create the movie, and that should be it. Of course, we have to put the braces right here. Since create the movie doesn't have anything in it, we should put something inside of it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use the resource plugin for Vue.js that we used before, so for getting our movies right here. So if you see this HTTP get API URL and so on. So but in this case, when you're creating something, at least in Drupal, you have to use the post method, not the get method, but the post method. So we're going to say post right here. And also one other thing, we can't use this API URL because we have to define an endpoint for Drupal. So whenever we hit this route, we are going to trigger this create movie method, and that method is going to communicate with Drupal via some endpoint. And that endpoint is actually not this one, http movies api.dev api movies, but it's this one. So http movies api .dev and then entity node. So this is the endpoint whenever you create something in Drupal via REST API. You have to define this address. Of course, your domain will be different, but you have to define this entity node. So this is the endpoint for our REST API, and then we have to pass some data right here. So data, and we actually don't need this. We can just do this, remove this curly brace, and that should be it. So we contact this endpoint and pass it some data. So we have to pass data to our Drupal installation. And now, of course, if we go to this page, refresh it, we get nothing because we didn't define this data right here. So we are going to do that now. And how that data is structured is the same way that you get the data from Drupal. So if you look at this API of ours, and if we check out the data, we see that we get this array with an object in it, and then we get some data. We are not going to, of course, add every one of these because Drupal will fill it out itself, but we are going to add a title and the body in this video. So we have to define that data, and to do that you just do var data equals, and then you pass it an object. First object is going to be called links, so it's a links object, and it has another object in it called type, and it has another object in it called href, and then we do http. I'm just going to copy this, http movies api dev rest, and then type is going to be node, and then we reference the content type that we want to create. So this line, actually these lines are pretty important because with them you define what type of data you're creating on your Drupal side. So for us, since we're creating movies, you just do movies. Okay, If you want to create a page, you would do page, or if you wanted to create an article, you would do article, and that's it. So movies for us. Then we are just going to do this, and then we're going to define a title for our movie. And that title is going to be an array, and in that array we define another object, and it's going to be called value. And we can say our new movie. So this is the value of our title field, and then we do another field. We can do body. So for the text of the movie, we passed an array, and value is going to be description of the movie. Okay, I think that should be it. Now we have our data set up. Of course, a little bit later on in the video we are not going to do it this way, but we are going to take our data from some kind of a form. When you are creating a movie, you wanna edit your own title and your own body. But just for this demonstration purposes, we are actually adding the data, hard coding the data right here. Okay, so that should be it. Let's check it out what happens now. So if we go to our movies app, refresh this, we should get this right here. So post, since we are posting something to Drupal, it says 401 unauthorized. So you have two ways of dealing with this. The first way, and the way that you should never deal with this, is you can just go to your Drupal installation, go to people, permissions. You just go to permissions, but don't do this. I'm just showing you. So you go find movies right here, and for the movies, for create new content, you can set this to anonymous. So when you set this to anonymous, that means that anybody can create, anyone that comes to your site can create a new movie. But of course you don't want that. You want only administrator, in our case, to create that movie. So we are not going to set this permission, but instead what we are going to do, we are going to make authorization for our Drupal API. So to create that authorization, we are going to use Vue resource plugin again. So right here, I'm going to set up our HTTP headers that we have to send to Drupal, so that it will take our request seriously and create new data. So I'm just going to define this HTTP, and then we do headers, and then we do accept. So what does the Drupal accept from us? It's going to accept some JSON data. Accept, and then we do JSON. What kind of a content type is this? And I'm not talking about Drupal's content types, but what kind of content type data we are sending. And that is going to be application HAL plus JSON. Okay. And then the most important thing is authorization. So you have to send it username and a password. So you can do it like this. So just write your username and your password. That wouldn't be very good. for security reasons. So we are going to hash that password and send it encrypted. And to do that, you can use an application like Postman. If you go right here on this link, I will leave the link in the description below. So you just install this plugin for Chrome, and when you install it and you open it, you get something like this. This is a plugin for making API requests and getting the data from them and seeing what you're getting and so on. So it's a tool for testing APIs. And then you can go to that tool, and for your API you set basic auth, and then it's going to ask you for username and a password. And you can just say update request, and you have these headers. So this is the authorization header, and you have something like this in it. So this is the authorization header for my account. So my username is Ivan and the password is password for this case, in this case for Drupal. So what Postman does, it's going to encrypt your password, and you can just copy this, and for your authentication you just paste this in. And I think that should actually be it. If we save this right now, since we have our header set up, let's try to refresh this page again. And as you can see, we don't get any errors right here. And if we go to our content in Drupal, you should see our new movie. And if actually we don't want to click that there, we want to click on edit. And when we edit it, you see this is the title of our movie, so the one we defined right here, and this is the description of our movie that we defined right here. And also, of course, if you now go back, you should see our new movie right here. So we created our new movie from this API. Okay, let's go to the create page again. Refresh this. Now what we need to do is not use this hard-coded values, but we want to use values from our form, and we are going to do that right now. So I'm just going to go to my index.html file, and I'm just going to paste this in right here. So it's just a form. I didn't want to waste your time by writing all this out. So it's just a basic bootstrap form with form group classes, submit button, and so on. If we save it and refresh the page, we can see that we have movie title, movie body, and this submit button. Okay, so what we need to do now is we have to do something like we have to tell this form, so we on submit, to do something. So when we submit this form, we should do what? We should actually create the movie. So we are creating the movie when we submit this form. Now we have to define our values. So we are going to do vModel, and this one is going to be the title of our movie. So I'm going to call it title, and then the vModel for this text area or movie body is going to be vModel body. Okay, so now that we got this set up, we should do some things in our create movie component. Well, first of all, what we want to do is we want to comment this out, because we don't want to create the new movie every time someone comes to the create URL. And the next thing we want to do is we want this value actually to stay the same, of course, because we are always going to be creating the movies, so we are going to leave this hard coded in. But for our title, we're just going to write this dot title. Okay, and for our body, we're going to write this dot body. And now we have to prevent the default action. So let me show you what I mean. If I save this and I go to this page, refresh it, this is all well and good. We can do title right here, body, and if I click add movie right now, check out this URL right here. So as you can see, it's trying to go to something like title something something. Okay, so, and of course it didn't work. If we go to content, we didn't create anything, so that's not good. We are getting 4 our new movies because we refreshed this page a couple of times. So I'm just going to delete these movies right here. We don't need them. Delete. Okay, so we have to prevent the default action for this button. Actually, for yes, for this button, or better yet, for this form, because we don't want to go to something when somebody clicks add a movie. We want actually to send this post request right here. So to do that, we're just going to do event. So this is the event that this function is receiving, and we are going to do event dot prevent default, and that's it. Save this, and now if we refresh this page, actually we have to remove this from our URL. If we come on, if we refresh this page now, and our newest movie, and I'm just going to add some lorem ipsum text right here. And if we click add movie right now, before we do that, you see these warnings. We didn't define them in the data, so I'm going to do just after just after we post this movie. So click add movie, and nothing happens. But if we go to content right here, refresh it, you see our newest movie, and if we go to edit, you will see this right here. So we nothing happened here because we didn't tell Vue.js what to do after the movie is posted. So we are going to do that right now, just before I actually define this title and the body in our data. So I'm just going to go to data and define our title so that we don't get those warnings, and our body. Okay, save this, and if we refresh the page right now, we should get nothing. Okay, so let's make this just a little bit prettier so that we actually know when the movie is published, so that we don't have to guess if it succeeded or didn't. So I'm just going to go to my index.html file, and right here I'm going to create a new div called alert. So these are just bootstrap classes, alert and alert success. Okay, and I'm going to write something in like you have added a movie. Okay, save this. If we refresh the page, you will see that we have this right here, but of course we didn't add a movie, so we don't want this to show up before we actually add a movie. So what we are going to do now is we are going to go to our app.js, and I'm going to set a data right here called success and set it to be empty. And then I'm going to save this, and I'm just going to do something like vshow. So we already talked about this in the previous lessons. So vshow success. Okay, so when the success is filled up with some data, then you would show this. Otherwise, this wouldn't be shown on the page. So if we save this now and refresh the page, we should get nothing. Okay, so now we go to our app.js file right here, and then I'm going to add a function here. Function. And now we are going to tell Vue.js what to do when the movie is actually posted to our Drupal installation. So I'm just going to do this set, and then I'm actually going to put a $sign right here because that's the way it's written. And then we're going to set the value for our success data. Success, and I'm just going to say something like OK. So you can do 1 in it or whatever you want. That success should have any type of data in it for our message to show up. So if I save this and we go to the movies, new movie, paste some text in it and add a movie. Something didn't go right. Let me just see this. So we have two variations of new movie. So the post actually went through, but I probably didn't do something here that was okay. Yeah, so I forgot to add response right here. So we want to get a response from this post function, and when we get a response from it, then we do this set success. Okay, let's try this again. Movie, add some text to it, and add a movie. Okay, so you have added a movie, and if we go to our Drupal, we can see the movie right here. Okay, just one more thing with this. When we add a movie, I want these to disappear, so to empty out. So what I'm gonna do right here is I'm just going to do this set, and then we do title. So I want to empty out this title field, and I'm going to set the value of it to be nothing, and then this set body also nothing. We save this right now, refresh this page. If we add something to our movie, click it, we get this message right here, and then these two are empty. Okay, and I just want to show you one more thing. So we are going to go back to the list of movies. I'm just going to actually remove this right here, and as you can see, we have a lot of movies right here that we created. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to add a button for creating a movie right here. So to do that, you just go to your index.html file, and we are going to go to the movie list method, actually movie list template right here, and just above the filter I'm just going to do something like href, but it's not going to be href. It's going to be vlink. We already know about vlink. And then we're just going to set it a path for create. Okay, and just add some bootstrap classes. So the class is going to be a button, and btn success. And I think that should be it. I'm just going to add some text right here. Create new movie. Okay, so if we refresh our list right here, we have this create new movie. I'm just going to add two br tags right here so that we have a little bit of spacing. Refresh this, so we have create new movie, and if we click on it, we can create our movie. Okay, so I think this is it for this episode. It's been a little bit, almost a half an hour episode, but this is a pretty complicated subject. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like it. If you like the channel, please subscribe to it. You can follow me on Facebook or on Twitter. I'm going to leave a link for the postman in the description below. Also, all of the code that we used in this episode are going to be on GitHub in the releases section, so you can download it right there and just put it in your project. Okay, so I see you in the next episode.